Welcome to Standalone Productions studio. We're in London. It is the hottest bloody day of the year, and we've chosen this day to come down to a very small studio that's full of valve equipment that gives off a lot of heat, and try out the latest small format valve combo from Laney. It's called the CUB 8. It's an 8-inch speaker, all valve, Class A circuitry, 5 watts of pure valve tone. You've got an ECC83 in the preamp section, 6v6 GT in the all-important valve power amp section. Small speaker, small cabinet, very portable. Have it in your control room, like me, surrounded by loads of gear. Looks a bit like a spaceship, fits in quite well. Or have it in your bedroom or in your living room, under your coffee table, away from your wife's evil clutches or your kids, who are, let's face it, pretty demon for murdering your precious instruments and valve amps, etc. Anyway, I've got it in the studio today. I'm a big fan of low wattage valve amps. I've played valve amps for many years, in all kinds of styles, loads of rock, much metal, funk and jazz and soul. Anyway, through my vast years of experience with valve amps, I've come to realise that in the recording studio, low wattage amps are absolutely king, because the key to a lot of the classic rock guitar tones has always been pushing power amp distortion, and it's really hard to do that with high powered valve amps, because you've got to have a massive space to do it with, or very, very understanding neighbours. And I know you want to hold on to your equipment, don't want to lose it to the noise abatement police. Having a low wattage valve amp in the studio is a great thing, because it means you can get those push tones at that lower volume, and if it was good enough for Jimmy Page and the Zeppelin guys, it's good enough for me, quite frankly. A lot of those classic tones that we've all been trying to recreate were as a result of using low wattage valve amps in the studio, simply because at the time there weren't these huge rigs available, and stadium rock hadn't really been invented yet. But I don't think anyone's going to argue with a lot of the stuff that's been captured. So anyway, let's have a listen. Set it up on quite neutral settings. So you've got volume at about 12 o'clock, tone at about 12 o'clock. Very simple settings. You have a high input and a low input. I'm plugged into the high input, as I usually am on the valve amp. So that's on a humbucker. You're getting that nice bit of crunch, really depending on how hard you hit it. And you'll really notice that the harder you hit it, the more it screams and sings. It's almost begging to be hit harder. And that sounds pretty massive for a small little amp with an 8-inch speaker. And kicks ass. The other thing is, it really does depend what guitar you plug into it. So, this is a pretty versatile guitar. So I've got single coils on here. So you've heard it with humbuckers, which is pretty roaring. You flick it onto single coils, it becomes a completely different beast. You have that real chiming, percussive cut of single coils, which is it's a beautiful thing too. Which is pretty cool, and it loves a bit of a So now pushing the gain up, pushing the gain up. There's two ways to control the gain when you're playing this kind of amp. One is using your volume control. So you know, basically the lower down your volume is, the less level is going into the input of the amp, and the less it's being driven. The other, and the much more exciting way to do it, is to whack your level up a lot more on the amp. So push the volume up. For this, I probably whack up the tone a little bit, just because I like a bit more cut and bite. And use your guitar volume to control the amount of drive you get out of the amp. So whack the guitar volume up.